welcome back to another episode of Media and More with Mediocre Modeler. Well, it's September 21st, which means Disney Plus is releasing 3 episodes of the long-awaited series Andor. One can assume that they're going to give you all the background information on Cassian Andor, which you can't talk about Cassian Andor without talking about Rogue One. And with all Star Wars, whenever new Star Wars content comes out, we end up with the same thing every time. It reminds me of the old Popeye cartoon where Olive was going to become president and she's proposing all these things to the cabinet, and what do we hear?
We accept it! We reject it! We accept it! We reject it!
And that's what Star Wars sounds like. And I try very hard not to let any of that influence my opinions on how I feel about Star Wars. Because at the end of the day, that's what it's all about. How you feel about it. And if others don't agree, so what? But I always have to kind of sit myself down and decide, okay, where are we going to fall on this? I've not done any research on Cassian. I've not read any of the comic books. I never was a comic book kid, so I haven't read any other than I read the book that came out before Rogue One. I can't remember the name of it, but other than what I saw of him in Rogue One, I don't know anything about him. Is that a good thing or a bad thing? Does it really matter? So what are we going to do with Andor? I'm going in dry. All I've seen is the trailer, and as it stands, just going in, the character of Andor does not excite me at all. I know he's in the Star Wars universe. I literally, it's like blah 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 TIE fighter, blah 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 explosion, Imperial Star Destroyer, blah 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 Mon Mothma. So what I'm going to do is just kind of come back to my reactions. I'm going to go and watch tonight's episodes, and then I'm going to come back and give you my opinion. So I guess we'll see you on the other side. First episode is done. Let's ask the obvious questions. First of all, does it feel Star Warsy? Not yet. But why? I think I'm still getting used to seeing the live-action Star Wars on a day-to-day basis, on a regular basis. And it's not holding the awe of, it looks good. Don't get me wrong, it looks good. I just am not feeling the awe of this big-budget sci-fi film. It is getting a little bit better. I'm getting more used to it, which leads me to, do I care? Okay, do I care about the character? I watched the whole episode, and it kept me intrigued, kept me guessing. It's 5 years before the Battle of Yavin that we're starting, so we've got some time to make up. We've been introduced to a couple of different characters, not sure what their names are, but I'm intrigued. I'm intrigued. The one thing I will say is there's a droid in the very beginning that we get introduced to, and he's kind of raggedy, and he reminds me of the droids from, the Black Hole. Watch it. You'll see what I mean. But so far, episode 1, okay, you have my interest. What's next? After watching the first episode, it felt a little bit on the short side. Did a little bit of investigating and come to find out that Andor's episodes are shorter than, say, Obi-Wan. Obi-Wan seemed longer than Boba Fett, but this one seems shorter than Book of Boba Fett. That being the case, I went on ahead and watched episode 2 and 3 so that I could just go ahead and give you a full review of the first 3 episodes. First impressions, not your kid Star Wars. Okay, do not expect to see these funky little fun droids making... What are you doing? Okay, if you're done, then... Okay, enough of that. Sorry. Anyway, so, yeah, first and foremost, this is not kids Star Wars, which isn't a bad thing. There's plenty of Star Wars out there for the kids. I just don't feel like this is one of them. Obi-Wan, you might be able to argue that our Obi-Wan wasn't a kid Star Wars, it just had a kid in it that did very well. This, on the other, this is a completely different animal. The story is very adult. You have some, I mean, right out of the gate, Cassian Andor kills a couple of guys. I'm not saying they didn't deserve it, but it's not your cute and fun, la la la, Star Wars story. Let's just do a quick synopsis. So at first, from the first episode, you see Cassian on a planet. They give the planet name. Thank you. And he ends up in basically space Amsterdam. He's looking for a girl, and you kind of find out that it's his sister. He goes into this little bar where there are 2 officers and like security officers. He just walks in, and they had been there a while, and so he gets attention immediately, and they take offense to that. And you know, he's not wanting any trouble, and he's not really giving them the eye, but he's not backing down and cowering away like most people are that they're used to. The madam of the place tells him, look, whoever you're looking for, she's not here, she's been gone. She didn't give you her real name, so I don't know where she went, but you should probably leave. You know. On his way out, our 2 guards decide to shake him down. Cassian really doesn't want any trouble, but a fight ensues. One guy is accidentally killed, and to keep from being discovered or whatever, he shoots the other guy. I mean, you could say in cold blood. Well, no, definitely in cold blood. Even though the guy's trying to make up a story or whatever, he's just like, you can see in his eyes, I can't take the chance, boom. And at this point, I'm thinking, God, that's really cold. And I felt pretty much the same way in Rogue One when he killed the spy there. I'm just like, what is with this guy? And you move forward in the story. So that's the basis of the story. Accident, got to get away, let's get going. So he gets on a shuttle, goes back to his home planet, wherever that is. Well, they do give the name, but for the sake of this video, I'm going to make you watch it and find out. But that is where we are now. He's got a piece of equipment he's trying to sell so he can get some money so he can move on. But you also have you're getting his backstory. And the backstory is that he's from a small mining planet that the Empire came and basically strip mined. There was some kind of industrial accident, and I guess these are the children of some of the adults that were on the planet. and the Empire just left them. So kind of a space version of Lord of the Flies, if you will. And it all works together, so you're getting bits of his past, which inform bits of his current. So you would think an out-of-the-way planet in the middle of nowhere, and he's on the run, but he's on the run from who? Well, you have your overzealous security officer who wants order and discipline, and he wants to run down, because you know what, they obviously find the bodies. They were left in a very open spot. His commanding officer was very older, wiser, more practical, and the security company is trying to keep the Empire at bay. They don't want them to come in and take over. Like, we can handle ourselves. I have to go off and do this report. So this is what you're going to do. You're going to write this up as an accident because the guys were in a brothel on company time shaking a person down. They were not the best people to begin with. They were doing all these things that they weren't supposed to be, and I can't have this as a report as I'm going into report to the Empire as to what we're doing. So make it go away. But our intrepid lieutenant, well, he reminds me of Lieutenant Gorman from Aliens. That's not good enough for him, you know. So his boss goes off to do his report, and he just hammers at it, you know. Find out where the ship went, blah, 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 blah. When they figure out that they could track the ship, he gets the help of an overzealous sergeant, which reminds me of Lord Baron from Dune, Lord Harkonnen. Obviously before he was floating and all pussy. But you know, they decide we're gonna go after him. You know, we're gonna make an example and show that, you know, and he's gonna show his boss. At first blush, for me, these seem to be very simple story beats, you know. But you got to get the story started somewhere. And the reason the lieutenant reminds me of Gorman from Aliens is because you can see he's green as they come. He tries to give a rousing speech to enthuse his men, and the guys are just kind of like, you know. It's not, and then when they get down there, you can feel their presence on the planet. The people that are on the planet where Cassian is, you know, they go, oh God, these guys haven't been here for a while. So you get the feeling that they have a presence and they're not a force to be reckoned with, but we do what we're supposed to and we don't make waves, they don't bother us. That type of thing. All the while, Cassian is trying to get rid of a piece of equipment that he has found so he can get away and save his people. And if they can't find him, there is a female interest in there, and the reason he gets discovered is because of a jealous boyfriend. You know, she talks to him more than she talks to me, and I think there's something going on. You know, he's been drinking, and these little cues are the things is why I say this isn't a kid's Star Wars. You know, because the guy, he spills the beans because he's drunk. There's suggested sexual encounters, which is, you know, that's just life, whatever. But if these aren't the kinds of things that you're really wanting to expose your young kids to Star Wars, if they're used to droids running around, you know, looking at Ewoks and whatever. So these are the reasons why I said this isn't your kid's Star Wars. So that leads us to the question: Am I interested? Yes. The story is good. If I had stumbled, yes. Is it good? Yes. Does it feel Star Warsy? Still no. Does it need to feel Star Warsy? at this point, no. The upside is that is going to turn into a Star Wars story. If I had just kind of stumbled upon the story, I'm working on a model or something and the TV was on and it happened to just be playing, this would have caught my attention. So I'm going to say, all right, let's keep going with this. It's a good beginning. The only downside I would say is this has been 3 episodes. I would have preferred this to be one long episode to make it feel a little bit more like it has a little bit more meat to it, a little bit of weight to it, because if you tack these 3 together, that's right about the amount of time I would want to see for an episode. Pretty much of anything, because you got a good long progression, and by the time the way they're filming the past Kazian on the planet and the current Kazian of today, the 2 stories dovetail very nicely as to them getting away. I haven't really given you a whole lot of spoilery type information because I want you to go out and discover this for yourself. That being the case, and it is completely, you're right. If you like it, great. If you don't like it, don't go all out bashing it all over the internet and calling it all kinds of whatever. Just let it go and go do something else, But if you want to do that, you can do that too. I just want to reduce the noise. Let the good stuff be good for you and the bad stuff kind of fall away. But this has just been the first review of Andor, episodes 1 through 3 on its premiere for September 21st. And we will catch you next week for the next episode of Andor. For Media and More, I'm the Mediocre Modeler.
Pew 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 pew.